All right, let's do kind of a impromptu type of chat, storytelling. Got a few notes here that I'm gonna keep me on track. Let's talk about speaking and speaking stories, as in how I got started in speaking. So my speaking career did not start with my coaching business 17 years ago. It started during my entertainment PR career as a publicist for celebrities, visual and performing artists. I was in Hollywood doing that thing for 22 years. And during that time, it was 2003, I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. Here I was, a single mom, running my fun, creative PR business out of my home while I raised my son, who's now 34. But here I was happy, I was positive, I was in this amazing career, right? I was having really the time of my life. Although I was a single mom, with that came struggles, but also with that came a lot of freedom and just really great experiences until 2003. So the first week after diagnosis, I was in denial. And then once I got over the why me, right, I moved back into my spiritual center, my higher self, right, and back to my spiritual approach to life and what's the message here and what's going on. So I asked God at that time, I said, let me be the poster child, as in the poster child, right, for women being proactive about their health as a way of me serving, right, other women and helping them with their healing and inspiration. So a few days later, I was introduced to a pranic healer, as an energy healer, who I immediately set up an appointment with. Okay, this was all prior to surgery. And in our first session, he asked me to go volunteer for a breast cancer foundation, right, as an act of compassion, right, to help the healing of my body. I'm like, whatever you tell me to do, I'm there. Consider it done. So the next day, I called up the Los Angeles affiliate of Susan G. Komen, and this is where all the dots are beginning to connect in my life, just like yours. So talked to their office, said I'd like to volunteer, told them what was going on with me, that I was due in a couple months for surgery and all the things that were happening with my health, and that I was ready to come in and volunteer. So I jumped in, started working, or I should say volunteering for Race for the Cure. And this was back in 2003. Race for the Cure and other events. And then soon enough, they asked me, right, to be their speaker chair. Having never done that, I remembered my prayer, right, that said I wanted to use my health condition, right? I wanted to use my health condition as an advocacy for women, right? Being proactive about their health, right? And live in their dignity and make choices. Right? And that was literally a prayer when I got the diagnosis, and I said, okay, I surrender, use me, right? Use me some way that I can help other women who's going through that journey. And I think it was a month later, is when this was asked. And I jumped in, I said, sure, show me what I need to do. So for 6 years with Susan G. Komen, I spoke to audiences small and large all over LA County, and I brought on other volunteers to go speak as the chair. And I was on stage talking about my survivor story, Komen initiatives, and my story was about being proactive about your health, do your research, know what's going on, what your choices are, especially in something like this. So it was an incredible feeling to be on these stages, again, small and large, and inspire women. They'd come up to me afterwards and ask me all sorts of questions, and what did I do, and how did I find, this oncologist and this person. Anyway, is that I was literally, supporting them. The dream had came, right? And there it was. So I built my dream team, as in my medical team, to match my Eastern and Western medicine preferences, right? I wanted a voice in my healthcare. I studied my diagnosis, which was stage 2 ductal carcinoma, it was in my left breast, and what my options were, right? So I deliberately chose my medical team, right, and Eastern modalities of energy healings. I did pranic healing, which is originated from Master Choa Sui. Those of you that are in the energy space know who that is. Bless his soul, he's passed away, but he was very much alive when I was doing this. I did organic eating, low stress, yoga, mindfulness. I chose my oncologist surgeon, plastic surgeon. I literally interviewed everyone, right? And anyone that I was considering, to make sure they were in alignment with my approach of Eastern and Western medicine. And if they weren't, they weren't going to be a match, and I would go find someone else. So I did the same thing with the radiation doctor. Right? In fact, I remember this one radiation doctor, oh my gosh, that I spoke to, and this was after the surgery, and now I was interviewing radiation doctors. And he likened the process of radiation like an army killing off the bad guys in my body. And I stared at him and I thought, you gotta be kidding me. You're talking to a woman who's spiritual, right? Who's very feminine in her approach to life, and you're giving me an analogy of going to war in my body? Okay, thanks, but no thanks. And I walked out of there and went, yeah, nope, cross him off the list. So the point is, yes, as I was very proactive about what I did to put together what I wanted for my body. And that's then what I talked about on stage. All right, so then in 2010, my son, now we're moving 7 years later, my son, who entered as a freshman in college, was volunteering on the campus for the health group. And he asked me to come speak to his health group about my breast cancer journey. And I said, you know what, better yet, let's do it together as a family, from how it impacted you and impacted me, right, as a family. So we did. We created Surviving and Thriving After Breast Cancer, our family journey to healing physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And Taylor and I got up in front of these groups of kids in college and in a classroom, and we spoke. And that was the first time Taylor got to speak, and he loved it. We actually even took this same presentation and went to a couple more colleges. So back in 2003, when the breast cancer journey began, little did I know, here's the connecting of the dots, that I would be, right, that this literally would be the start of my speaking career. Because 5 years later, okay, 2003 and then 2008, I would segue my 22 years in entertainment PR into then, right, coaching entrepreneurs how to turn themselves into a brand and market it and monetize it online, right? Well, I was also getting coached. I was earning while I was learning, and I was an early adopter. So all these things that you're seeing today, I was learning it 17 years ago. But the point is, I began my speaking career there professionally, but it was what? The gift and the challenge during the breast cancer journey. So all this to say is, you have a legacy brand story to share also. And that's what we are teaching, right, on September 6th. That's going to help you inspire others and humanity. So what we're looking for, right, are those types of women, visionary types, coaches, speakers, authors, lifestyle experts, right? Advocates. Oh my gosh, great reason to go when you have a platform of advocacy, right? Just like what I was doing, right, with Komen, right? So this is why we're doing Your Voice Matters, right? Setting the stage to impact humanity is what? Because your voice matters, right? Your story is your legacy, and the world needs your light and your inspiration more than ever, okay? All right, so the month of July, we have a special going on. It's $50 off and a bonus bundle. These are a download bundle from Laura, Ashley, and I. And we're calling it National Women's Month Empowerment Bundle for Mind, Body, and Spiritual Wellness. And all that info is down below. You can take a look at that. All right. And why, I'm sure you're probably wondering, July, National Women's Month, what does that have to do? Well, we did our research, and apparently in July, the key dates related to women was the start of the women's rights movement. The Seneca Falls Convention, it's a pivotal event in the fight for women's rights, took place on July 19th through 20th, 1848. Yeah, all right, that's where that theme came from for the month of July for us. Okay, so very good. So let's get you registered, right? September 6th, Saturday, Newport Beach at the Hyatt Regency. And join us in this plight to get you on stage, global stages, not only paid well, but your story needs to be heard. Yeah? All right. All the details are below, and I would love to see you there. All right. Take care.